Today I want to talk about why loans are actually good for an average person, for an average individual. The thing is that I come from an Eastern European country, a country which is post-Soviet. So here about 35 or more years ago has been the Soviet Union, a country which was trying to build communism in one way or another. And that is why lots of such capitalistic things as loans, as building a business and investing have been very unnatural for lots of people. Of course, there have been people who were trying to do that. There have been entrepreneurs, people who have soul of entrepreneur, right? And they even have been trying to do that in the Soviet Union times. But on average, for most of the people, these capitalistic aspects, as I said, have been very foreign. It has been something that is not close to their heart, right? Since they were born and raised in the culture, in the society, which is completely different from the society we have now, from the Western society. So due to that, loans in my country have been seen as something bad by lots of people. It has been seen as a necessary burden. Those have been seen as the thing which people who don't have patience take, right? So you don't have patience to buy yourself a flat, that's why you take a mortgage, and you are losing money because of it, and that's not good. So it has been a viewpoint for quite a long time here, actually. I'm not saying that everyone had such a viewpoint, but I personally know lots of people who are, let's say, in their senior years now, who are 60 plus, who have this exact position, or who had this exact position, at least not so long ago. And also the relation to the banks, to loans, to investing in the Eastern European countries is a little bit different due to the very vulnerable political situation that has been here during the last half a century, right? The regime has changed. After the regime we had the 90s. The 90s in Eastern Europe and in Russia have been very terrible years. Those have been years where illegal things were taking places. Lots of illegal things. And police haven't been there to help. Most of the time, they tried their best. The governments tried their best to stop the criminals and stuff like that. But in general, the system has changed and lots of people took their chances. Most of them have been doing that in one way or another illegally. And also because of that, we had lots of banks bankruptcies, right? People have been storing their money after the Soviet Union collapsed in the banks. They have been storing their money there, but the banks started to collapse in 2000s and at the end of 90s, right? So people lost all of their money. Prior to that, when lots of countries became independent from Soviet Union, right, the currency of these countries also changed. So lots of people also lost lots of their monies. So as you understand, there have been lots of bank bankruptcies, currency defaults and stuff like that. And in general, this created the feeling in the society that investing and things like that, those are, that is something that you probably shouldn't be doing, right? Since you never know whether or not the bank is going to bankrupt and all of your stocks in which you invested are going to be gone in a second, right? Like this. And only starting from, I think, 2005, let's say, things started to become more or less stable here. But then 2008 economic crisis began. And due to that, everything collapsed one more time, and lots of people who had taken mortgages were left with nothing. They didn't have money to pay for their mortgages, and that's why lots of them had to leave the country and leave the Eastern European countries and move to the Western Europe in order to make decent money there, in order to afford to pay for these mortgages, in order not to bankrupt, right? In order not to lose their or their family's apartment. And so these times have been, as I said, very vulnerable, and due to that, people have very different views on loans here than, let's say, in the US or Switzerland or even Germany, where most of you had a very stable economic situation, right? Most of you had a very stable economy, and due to that, you had an opportunity just to pay every month for your loans without thinking about the bank becoming bankrupt. And you could have invested your money into pension funds without thinking that in 5 years' time, this pension fund can just, disappear. And so the situation have been very different. But now, of course, loans are very popular at the West, and of course, it's also influenced us. The system, thanks God, became way more stable due to the European Union, and now actually it's possible to take out a mortgage and actually pay it out without the bank becoming bankrupt and stuff like that, without some insane mortgage interest, right? You can take a mortgage and pay about 3 to 4% 3% of interest, right? Which is an okayish number. Let's say it's a very okayish number, and the situation is more or less stable, right? And loans are becoming more and more popular. Not only the mortgages, but also the credit cards, the loans for, let's say, buying a computer, and things like that. As I understand, in the West, it has been a thing for, hundreds of years now, and now it is of course it's becoming more and more popular also now due to the affordability of all kind of loans. I'm not sure if that's true actually, that's an important point, but I have seen a post somewhere that you can buy a Domino pizza in the US with you can take a loan for it, right? You can pay in 10 installments for a fucking pizza. That's insane. But anyway, as we all understand, the loans are becoming more and more common nowadays, right? And that is why also people in the West, especially like financial advisors, and if you will go and look out for financial literacy channels, most of them will say don't take out loans, especially like car loans, loans for your smartphones, and things like that. And I actually totally agree with that. I think that the only loan that person should take out is the loan for an asset which is going to grow in value. That's it. You shouldn't take out a loan for other things, or if it's an actual necessity, right? You have to buy this phone or else you will die. Because I can't really think of any actual and reasonable example, right? So I think that the only reason why you should take out loans is for the asset to grow in price in the future, right? You can't afford to, let's say, pay 300,000 euro for an apartment, and you will not be able to save this money by no means if you're an average guy, right? So you take a mortgage, you pay it out, of course you pay huge interest if you will count like in 30 years time, but at the same time during 30 years your apartment also skyrockets in price just because the real estate tend to grow in price. Despite of crisis, despite of all these things, it actually is happening. But in general, I think that these loans which you can, like daily loans, loans for the smartphones, paying in installments, I think that's all is very bad actually for your finances, right? It's actually very bad, and that's hurts you and your future. That was actually my viewpoint for a long period of time, right? But then, I started to work in different companies. I'm working in the field of finance, so I look at different people. I kind of see what they have. Do they have loans or no? How they are dealing with their finances, whether or not they're investing, and so it's actually very interesting to look at how average person deals with his finances, right? What he's doing. And so I started to understand that for most of the people, of course it's not a secret, I'm also not coming, unfortunately, from a very wealthy or trust fund family. No, I'm coming from a very average family, right? And I understand that most of the people live from paycheck to paycheck, right? So what I thought about actually some time ago is that most of the people don't budget. Yeah, as I said, due to that exactly they live from paycheck to paycheck. Of course there are some people who earn like very small amount of money, and even if they will budget, they will not have enough, right? But most of the people, it's the problem of budgeting. They do not count their money. And what I understood that the loans, right, is actually the only thing which allows them to afford to buy some big things, right? Such as car, such as smartphone. If a person do not budget and also at the same time doesn't have like huge insane salary, let's say a person has an average salary living in a particular country, whatever, any country, right? He most probably will not be able to afford to buy a car from one of his salaries. Like he will not be able to receive one salary and buy a car, right? And since the person most probably is not budgeting, he will not also be able to afford to buy this car by saving the money, right? Which would be the correct way of things, right? To save the money and then to buy the car, not to take out a loan. But since the person is not budgeting, the only way for him to afford the good car is to actually take out a loan, pay a huge interest rate, become way less wealthy because of that. But that is the only way how the person is going to afford this car, because the person is not budgeting. And that's actually not the problem of the firm which is giving the loan. It's not the problem of a bank. Bank is doing a great thing. Of course, bank is taking huge interest rate for that. Bank is taking huge money for his work. But at the same time, the bank is the only thing because of which the person can actually afford to buy this car. I hope you understand my point, and that is what I thought for the last like few weeks or a month, right? That actually loans are not as bad. Loans are actually the only reason why people can afford themselves to buy good stuff. And not because they don't have money, because they don't know how to budget. And that's why I think most of the people, especially like these YouTube gurus who are demonizing loans, right? They should stop doing that. Since for most people, it's actually impossible to budget, just because they don't want to do it. They do not watch these videos with YouTube gurus, right? They do not do that. They just receive the salary, it's on their bank account, and then they spend, click, 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 ka-ching, 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 Apple payments, shit like that, and all your money is gone. But since they have loans, it actually structures their finances, right? The banks are taking the money each month at each particular date, and the person knows that if he's not going to pay, bad things will happen. So he's paying every month, since he took out this loan himself, and the bank is actually allowing him to budget. So the loans are actually the best budgeting tool which an average person can afford. The best budgeting tool which allows to grow person's value in one way or another. Of course, buying a new car on a loan, or it's not gonna grow your wealth a lot, but still, that was my thought. And I find it actually very interesting, since lots of people tend to say that no, banks are bad, they are stealing money from people with their interest rates. Nobody is pushing you to go out and take a loan. Nobody, actually. You go and take out the loan yourself, and the bank is doing the great thing. Bank is giving you the money to buy your thing, since you will never be able to afford it on your own. Just a small rant from the personal finance nerd, I would say. If you want to discuss this, if you want to disagree with me, please leave a comment down below. I will be more than happy to argue, to discuss, or to agree with you, actually, if you will provide some great points, right? You can also join my Discord server. A link is also down below. There I am also happy to discuss with you any video of mine, actually, anything which you would like to know, and anything that you would love to discuss about my channel, about my videos. And also, guys, thank you so much for actually watching my videos. My last 4 videos started to actually gain some views, I started to see about 1,300 views on each video of mine, which is insane for me. People are actually watching, they're commenting, some of the comments are positive, some negative. But wow, I am actually so happy about that. I'm actually so happy that people are watching my videos. That's just crazy. That's incredible feeling when you're creating something and people actually like that. When you're creating something and people value that. Wow. I just hope that every one of you who wants to create a content, just do it, just go and do it, because that's the best feeling ever. Once again, thank you a lot for watching. If you did enjoy it, subscribe to my channel and join the Discord server, and I will see you there, and in a week when I will be releasing my new video. Thank you so much once again, and bye, guys.